my mom was like, son, I watched a half of your first podcast, and like she, you know, like I'll send her mixes of stuff, like I'll send her my music, and she's so supportive and she's so awesome. But it's yeah, it's just a different, you know, you still feel 12 and you're like not capable, and you forget like you're a grown person, and like I have a studio and I play me, and I've like found purpose in making, in expressing myself.
You sound sophisticated.
Expressing myself. Enlightened or whatever.
I went back and was watching some early podcasts that, like, when podcasts first started.
When was that? Like
2009.
Oh my god, dude, that was probably when they were like actually nerdy. Like
they were so. Well, I've watched some old Joe Rogan, and he was literally reading his Twitter feed of people just like chatting at him and then responding to the Twitter questions. And it was the most boring, shitty thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. I didn't know he was potting that far back.
Yeah, super far.
That's crazy.
I watch his.
I'm not embarrassed. I do too.
I do too. I watch a lot of stuff that I used to hide it, but I think I moved here and I started to become like a little bit more like pleasant, or like hide some things about myself. You know, a little bit. I don't know, tame myself a little bit.
Be yourself.
I'm over that. Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah, I'm super over it.
I like it. You know, his podcast has had a pretty profound effect on my life in a positive way.
That's crazy.
That, you know, I don't know, people get political about everything, but there are, I don't know, even people on the other side of your belief spectrum. Like, nobody's pure evil. Everybody has their own intentions and their reasons for being why they are, and those are usually positive intentions.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day, and we all kind of want the same thing, right? We want to be healthy, to be happy, to experience joy, and that means different things to different people, and people will navigate their lives differently based upon
their value systems of
exactly
what they deem valuable.
But those core desires are all still kind of the same, so we're all the same.
We really are all the same, and on each side of anything in extreme is like a bit much. A bit, you know, it's like we are all the great equalizer. It's like we all want the same thing. We all bleed blood, goddammit. We all bleed blood, okay?
I'm adjusting. I like this better.
Are we officially started? Yeah. That could totally be a cold open, I guess.
Thank you for having me.
Konrad. Yeah. Cheers. Thank you for coming. I'm self-conscious when I think of people I want to have on. I'm starting to ask because this is so new. And I'm, you know, there's like a little bit of cojones you have to just like, you're like, you want to come over and sit and like film us having a conversation that we'd probably already be having if we weren't filming and you just came over, but we're gonna, but everyone has been really stoked to do it. Like everybody wants to, that I've asked, which is probably means I'm asking the right people, like want to come over and like have a sec. And for me, it's like, it also gives me the ability to be like social. I have like a toddler now, so I know at least once a week I'm hanging out.
I'm surprised that the 8 o'clock start time was doable for you since you have a young kiddo. Like, are you guys sleeping regularly? Yeah. It's like, that's all balanced out.
Yeah, she sleeps.
Wonderful.
Maybe like every now and again she wakes up and we deal with it. But I prefer to do it after she goes to bed because I already have a hard time getting kind of grounded, especially during the day when there's like Amazon trucks and like your phone's going off and there's like, it's hard to get in any sort of zone. And when I know I have to be like on and available, I'd just rather her be sleeping, nobody needs me, and I can like hang out and like relax and like not be here, but also mentally be like somewhere else.
What's going on in the rest of my household? What do I need to be
Yeah.
responsible for?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Did I leave dishes? Did I? So yeah, the 8 o'clock. I was stoked. You were down. We actually thought it was 7, if I'm being honest. And then I texted Casey and I was like, "Psych, it's at 8. Do not leave yet." And he was like, "Great."
Yeah, my manager. We had a 7 o'clock thing, and then
That's awesome.
she was like, I don't know, 8 o'clock felt good. I had a session today.
They're really like on it.
They're good.
They're very informative.
They're good.
I loved it. It was you're the only person besides people who I directly texted, which I knew you were super busy, so I didn't want to directly text you. I just emailed your publisher because I didn't know you had. They connected me.
It's new. It's new. It's wonderful.
I have to say, out of all the managers that I've been emailing, they're like the only ones. And Eden, very fast and like very.
They're on it.
Like just want to confirm. They're as like vigilant as like I feel like I am. So it was nice because not everybody does that. Not everybody responds or is like cares.
You have to care.
You
I
can tell
care.
you care. And you can tell you care. You're like, Konrad would love to. I was like, really? Okay, cool. This is amazing.
I love
excited.
talking to you. I mean, I think we share a lot of just directional beliefs and a lot of we get stoked about the same things, and it's always fun to talk to somebody that you have shared values with, and it's
Yeah, I remember meeting you because I used your studio for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
I think when mine was maybe starting to be built or something, and then I skipped the first day and we just hung out, and it was Earth Day, and that was the first day we like met in person.
Oh, shit.
No. Yes, we had written on Skype.
That's right.
During COVID. And then I went to your house and we hung out and sat outside during Earth Day. And I don't know, I just like got lost in whatever you were talking about. Like we talked about a lot of things and I got not lost in a bad way, lost in like encapsulated, like engulfed in like whatever we were talking about. I was entrenched in it.
Also, we both might have been taking a slight amount of mushrooms on that day.
So have you ever done DMT?
A little bit.
I am noted to be giving in that way.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. I think that was my first experience with a micro or any, and then I smoked on top of it. So I probably got like really just invested, and also probably moments of anxious because we were talking about like pretty big, small and big things, and it was awesome. And I was like, this fucking dude's the cool, like literally one of the coolest people I met, and I had to like play it cool. Because I didn't want you to like think I was weird, but I like totally connected with you. And
We're both weird.
Loved talking to you, and that was before my baby was born, and so I was just really perceptive of people who were making music, having some sort of like balanced life, who also had a child, and I didn't see it represented a ton, and so like I crossed paths with you during a really interesting time in my life, and hearing you talk about being a parent was like major.
I'm glad you brought up being a parent. Like, how has that, I don't think we've talked much since
No, it's been so.
you had your kiddo.
both
So
been
like,
busy.
what has that been like for you? How has it transformed you? In every single way.
Yeah, we'd be talking for the rest of time. I don't know how to articulate. I don't. Yeah, on a cellular level, like I'm just different. I care about different things. Things are making decisions is much easier. The path is feels a little bit clearer, at least, because there's like a true north. I feel that I just instinctively, like I love this person so much. Like we're connected, as a family too, and like we're at the very beginning. You know, she's turning 2, so this is all very new. But I'm loving whatever this is, and I feel like it would have been really sad if I hadn't have chosen to become a parent, because now that I am, I know that this is something that I like. I'm wired for this, and I love every single. Not every single. I mean, I don't love you don't love it when you're fucking exhausted and up at night, but yeah, I get it. I'm in the other room now where everybody's been, and like I've been hearing about it, but I'm like, I'm in this other room and I'm scared to go in that room, but I hear it's really beautiful, and I don't know if I want to take the chance, and I'm glad I did, because it really is, and like it enhances everything.
I'm curious because I have my own true north, but when you said it reestablished a true north, like how would you articulate that or define that? Because that's interesting, because a true north, like you could also define that as purpose. And purpose in life, I mean, that's the difference between life and death.
Yeah.
It's like if you are walking around without purpose, your life, you have no personal defined meaning. I mean, I think everybody's life has meaning. I'm not saying if you don't have purpose, you don't have meaning.
Sure.
But it's like for that sense of self of like, why am I here? What am I doing? Like, it's imperative. So yeah, I'm really curious. You said true north, and it's like my brain sort of lit up, and I would be curious to know how you define that.
It feels like, so like there are a lot of things that clicked when she was born. One of them being this understanding of like, she came with a certain way of being in the world. She came with there's some things that we teach, and obviously, but she came with like an essence that was truly herself. And even from being in embryo, is that like in utero, like certain things make sense now of like how she was flipping around and how she, like her mannerisms in there and how it's manifesting to out here, and like her personality and her curiosities. And so I think when I think about true north, I think about like the moments I feel the best, and the moments in life I'm trying to recognize that I feel most myself. Like I mentioned earlier, like I kind of like hid a lot of stuff, especially when I moved to Nashville, kind of like got a little bit quiet and wasn't as maybe boisterous as I normally am, and kind of, it's like I feel connected to, it's like life affirming. I feel connected to myself through being connected. She's like a mirror for me. She's like a best friend. She's someone I want to protect, and it keeps me from saying yes to things that I maybe would have said yes to before, because I was like, I didn't have a barometer of like what mattered. I had a bad sort of like.
Well, it becomes imperative to protect your energy, because what you like in this space, your studio space, beautiful studio space. I really love it. I was saying that earlier. I just felt like Donald Trump right there. Beautiful space.
Beautiful. It's wonderful.
Stupid.
Thank you.
No, but the energy that you attract and the energy you bring in, you absorb, and then you bring home, and then she absorbs it, and now it's like it's this cycle. And so that's beautiful that you're conscious of it, and that you are allowing your intuition to dictate everything of what the projects you choose, what you choose to work on, what you choose to ingest,
how I choose to make things. Like I want her to see me moving towards things that it helps me be in pursuit of other purposes I have and other passions I have, because I want to be a representative of what I want to impart on her. So how can I preach, like, move towards things that scare you, do things that you love? If I'm, like, I was too scared to start a podcast for, like, years. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, how am I supposed to, I'm just going to do it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Like, nothing. Like,
and by not doing it, the worst thing that could happen is like when you tell her to chase her dreams, and then when you haven't chased your own dreams, and then she's like, yeah, but what about your dreams? And you're like, there's a few of those I have not done. It lends courage. Whenever you have courage, whenever I have courage, it lends courage to the next generation to follow their dreams and do what they feel their life is called for, or what they are called for in life.
Right. I have a question for you about parenthood and you. because this is also brought up, and this has come up literally every time in every conversation I've had here so far. And I don't know what it is about this idea that I'm so hung up on, and I just want to get everybody's perspective on. But like, having her makes me realize that like impact will trickle. You don't have to be like being someone's parent and guide in the world, and sort of like I'm a student of her, and I'm for her, and and I want her to be happy and healthy and feel a sense of purpose and find her path. And like, so much so that it's like, that's like legacy to me. Like, I thought it was something else, and I've had this like almost not moral question, but just this like maybe own personal question of like, I know I'm working on my own music, and I want to share music, and I have aspirations and dreams. And then when I think about her, I also think about what would the difference be between just making music and like leaving it on my hard drive for her. And she's going to have that it's like, no matter what I make, if I put it out or not, or if it's shared with the world or not, she's always going to like be able to have a piece of her story and our story and my story via the music I make. And that is like impact enough. Mm-hmm. And this idea of like legacy and giving things out versus like keeping things sacred and keep giving them to like, what is the difference? Does one matter more than the other? And like, I don't know.
The difference.
This idea of like your music or whatever you make, or you continuing on through your legacy, continuing on through your child versus like sharing it with the world. Like what? Like why do you put out music? You know, versus leaving it and just letting it be a known story as to your son.
Legacy is an interesting thing to me in the way I think it's interesting to me in a different way that it's interesting to other people, in the fact that I don't ever think about it.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but I'm not really thinking about that far off future, because I know that no matter what, the ultimate legacy, even of the human race, is one of, this is going to sound super nihilistic, but like, is one of dust.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like legacy insinuate, like by legacy, that means that there is one life to be led, and then that's it. And then you leave it. There's like a bigger.
Yeah.
And
ultimately there will be no humans to tell the story of your legacy.
Yeah.
We will not be remembered, and that's just the cosmic reality. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. That's not, like, a lot of people would think that's a very negative thing, but what that does is that invites us to realize that the precious thing that we are existing in is the present moment. Yeah. And that anything that we are investing in should be geared towards the idea of the present. And so if we look at our legacies instead of this far off thing of what I'm leaving behind, my legacy is what am I giving in this moment. So legacy becomes sort of compartmentalized for me in that, like, right now, my legacy is the beautiful conversation I hope with you. And when I am with my son, my legacy in that moment is what is the story that my son is going to tell about our relationship to himself. Right?
Yeah, dude. You're articulating all these things. Yeah.
And what I hope that my legacy, the story that my son tells to himself about us, is that he is accepted for exactly the beautiful person he is, and that he is loved and supported, and maybe from time to time, like, playfully, like, punched against. You know what I mean? To build some resilience. But, like, yeah, I want him to know that when he is with me, and man, I spend enough time on my phone when I'm with him. Like, there's times that I'm not completely present. But I would hope that he knows that when he's with me, and even when he's not with me, he is the center focus of my being.
Yeah.
And with that intention that I laid out earlier, that he's loved, accepted, and supported. And as far as music goes, the only reason I've ever written anything, at least for myself, for my own artist project, is because I am experiencing deep spiritual realities that are becoming emotionally intense, and then I have to find a way to vocalize them into the world, just so I understand them.
Yeah.
And, you know, melody helps me understand the emotion, and through that, I am hopefully experiencing healing. And I think music does that for me. It heals, and it helps me understand, and it helps me articulate, and it helps me move forward.
I wonder if there's you're like ripping the words out of my, like, my attempts are like to express it are totally like I can feel and hear that, like, this is something that, like, it's just so true. It's just so true to you, and you articulate it like in such a beautiful way, because when you say it, I understand what you're talking about. That's exactly how I wonder if, like, legacy is a word that can be replaced with like life force or like connection or something, because there's like when you say I want him to know, I want to, when he thinks of me, I want him to think of how he feels about our relationship, that he knows he's seen and heard and safe, and somebody loves him very much. And to me, that's like, I mean, legacy is the wrong word. It's like purpose. I get, yeah, purpose.
All goes back to it.
It's purpose. Yeah, I just, like, I want to cry all the time sometimes, because I'm in, like, these pure moments, like these moments that you kind of don't get to experience all the time, or maybe that don't come naturally all the time the way they did when you were young, that perhaps, you know, I know you can take things to get there, you can get there other ways, but these organic moments that I feel more alive. I feel connected to a person, people. I feel like we laugh together, we cry together, I protect. It's a kind of connection, and like doing it alongside someone, I just feel that everything else is just it's like, if I have that connection and my family and my health and the ability to express, like, I'm good. Like,
how lucky are we that we procreate in such a specific way that it helps us regain what we've lost when we become adults?
oh my God, when you said heal, you used it through music, but I'm thinking about it through being someone's dad, someone's mom.
Oh my God.
That's the most profound.
Well, they call that reparenting, right?
Yeah.
So you're reparenting yourself at the same time you are parenting your child, and you're hopefully, if you're aware, and man, even if you're not, it's fine. But if you're aware and you're parenting and you're realizing, like, oh shit, you know what? Like, maybe your kid throws a tantrum, and you're like, maybe the initial response is to try to control that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, fuck, you know what? Like, when I was a kid, my parent tried to control that. And maybe all I needed, instead of like any sort of chastising or any sort of suck it up, or in my case, you know, be a man or whatever, maybe all I needed was a hug, you know? Like, get down on your knees and hug me.
Hold the space for
and
it.
just hold the space for it.
Let
and
you cry.
And just say it's okay. Like,
sing to you a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Rub your back.
And I find that when I do that with my kiddo, it's like everything just melts away. like all the problems we were having, any sort of like entanglement or enmeshment in anger, frustration, whatever, it's like all that stuff melts away.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, like what if we could experience that for ourselves as adults? And like, is that the way back to the more childlike sense of wonderment? And I mean, we live in a crazy magical world. Like, I was walking into your backyard and you have this little, meditation Buddhist statue and these beautiful huge trees and a slide that comes down from your deck. And it's just like, you've created such a magical space. And it's like, man, if you just sit back there for a second and look at everything that's unfolding before us in complete stillness, and we can realize like, oh, maybe the alternative to this is nothingness. And compared to nothingness, this is pretty goddamn amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like
100%. Sometimes I feel like my entire the choices I make and the life I lead is an entire act out not against, but like an entire intentional. Like, there's a basketball hoop there for a reason. It's almost based in fear of like, I don't want to exist numb and in a cubicle. I'd never wanted, from a very young age, I was very cognizant of that. And
me too.
Very aware. And I'm sure we could go on a million tangents. And when you have that awareness, that's probably does help shape the adult you become. And there's a reason. It's just like, I literally have a kid picture of me it's part of, my therapist asks me to do it, and like I have to talk to my younger self when I come in here because of exactly what you're talking about. And I think maybe we run towards things, like maybe I ran towards doing this podcast because I'm setting up myself for, it's like you're priming for potential moments of that like childlike connection. So when you're an adult, you kind of have to create the space for it, and via a physical space, via time, via the desire, like carve out time for that with other people, with your friends, because if not, it's really easy to get like stuck in the muck with the way our society is. And so it's something I'm kind of like vigilant about, in a really, not too much, but like but sometimes, yeah, like, the idea of adulting is, and I run it, so like I do things, I take care of myself. I'm clearly an adult who can take care of myself and my family, but there is a deep, deep desire to preserve as much of that and create as much opportunity for feeling like a kid and free and uninhibited, and laughing.
I have this friend, his name's Andrew Herringer. He was in a band called Milo Green. He has a couple other projects now, but he really inspired me several years ago, and he would allow people into his creative space that were not musical, were not, like, had nothing to do with music, and he would go like,
oh, cool.
Okay, play.
Cool.
And through that just sort of allowed this idea of playfulness to invade all of the different aspects of his life. Now, granted, like, life happens and like stuff goes wrong and it interrupts that state of play. Okay. But I notice that when I invite that into myself and I really am conscious about everything being play. I mean, my son, that's all he wants to do. Mm-hmm. It's like, let's play. It's like, play what? Doesn't matter. As long as you're in it, as long as you're like conscious and here, and present, I don't care.
Do you guys like improvise? Do you like Silly Billy with him? Do you like voices and stuff?
Yeah, what he loves, he like gets fixated. It's like me, honestly. Like, I get a thing that I'm like, I love this, and all I want to do is this.
What's the thing?
So there's
thing right now?
Two things. One is jumping on the trampoline every morning. Can we jump? And I'm like, oh, can I get coffee first? He's like, no.
How old is he now?
7, almost 8.
Wow. Okay, cool.
So,
That's fun.
and we even have like a routine that we do on the trampoline that he like loves. And we do it, and it involves just like catching a ball, throwing it up in the air, and catching a ball while we're jumping. It's like the combination of that is like
Yeah.
tripping. He's like, whoa, I'm going up and the ball's coming down, and this is crazy.
But it is crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So he's right.
That's crazy.
It's like wonderment.
Wonder. But yeah, when that just like, when I allow that to just the state of play to pervade everything from my career to my marriage to my relationship with my son to my relationship with my friends, it's like, well, shit, I'm back in the state of being a kid again.
Would you say you were always, I mean, you said you were always cognizant of entrapments, but like that state of play, is that a way you always operated, or was there
No.
like a shift, or is it?
I mean, I think it's not. That's an interesting question. I think both an immediate shift and also the slow turning of the shift in awareness of like, oh, this is a thing. And then the slow, like, physical retraining of my neural pathways, of my personality, of everything, of like
intellectually knowing, but that's one thing.
Yes,
But
embodying.
actually embodying it's a whole
That
other
shit is
fucking
hard
thing,
for me,
dude.
man. It'll take 2 years to embody a truth for me.
Oof.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, well, I know this to be true. I know I know the truth of the nature of the way I want to be and the way I want to feel, but getting to that place is a lot longer. So, yeah, it was like, honestly, it kind of happened when my wife told me that she was pregnant. Like, I had always thought that when I learned I was going to have a kid, like, I'd be so happy. And I just remember thinking, oh, fuck. And I was like, I have this whole internal dialogue thing going on. I'm like, oh, why did I just say that? And then this voice comes to me and it's like, well, your son is not going to be what you teach him to be. Your son is going to be who you are. And then it asked the question, who are you? And I said, I am horribly unhappy. So, I mean, just by that little dialogue alone, that tells me that no, I have not always inhabited a state of play, and that it has had to be relearned. Like, I lost that through, I don't even know, failed relationships, failed friendships, taking things offensively, like taking offense to things people would do to me. Again, that's the languaging that I would tell myself. It's like all those things close you off to feeling. You're like, I don't want to feel like shit, so I'm not going to feel anymore. So I just became closed off. And it took that whole year or 9 months of her being pregnant to like really dive in and figure out, okay, well, why am I unhappy? And partially because I'm taking things way too fucking seriously, and because I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm just going from one thing to the next, never allowing myself the space to exist. And we all need that pretty desperately. We all need to play. We all need to feel enjoyment.
Yeah. I have like 5 million questions
Okay.
running through my brain right now while I'm listening to what you're saying, because like, firstly, like, I feel like no matter what you believe, no matter what buddy believes in, I just truly do feel like he chose you, right? Like, that you could even think of that as like the first moment that he became like some sort of North Star of like waking you up a little bit to even look inward and be like, oh, am I like what is this all for? Like
Our
am I
kids are mirrors.
happy? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, and he like almost chose like his, if you believe in souls, if you believe in, you know, like he, like, what are the chances in the small amount of time that like Earth and life has existed that you are your partner's partner and that you are your kid's dad and that you are your friend's friend, like that we all met. What the fuck are the chances?
In my belief system,
Yes,
100%.
Yeah. 100%?
100%.
The chances?
Yeah.
Okay, can you explain?
Well, I mean, I think it's a Buddhist philosophy or Hindu. I don't. Sorry, I don't.
It's a something.
It's a something
It's
philosophy.
Something.
No, that like they're and man, if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, and anyone listening can blast me.
We'll all be fucking dead. Like, we won't know if you're wrong.
But so at the moment of conception, when the two parents are having sex or you're inseminated or whatever,
Thank you.
The child is watching and is attracted to, and I'm not talking about sexually, I'm just talking about like the soul is attracted to both the qualities and the what would you call it? Not trauma, but the things that aren't so good about those people, and they know that, oh, with my soul journey, this is how I'm going to move forward. So, by that logic, we are here because we chose to be here, and we chose our parents, and they chose their parents, and there's a very specific thing that I am here to learn and to experience in order for my soul to move forward. And man, I believe that personally.
I love that. I love like the exploring all of it. Like that is something the person I was with before my wife like had introduced me to that whole way of thinking. I literally have like be here now on my arm in Hebrew because of like we have work to do, and it's all like all of the rubbing is right, like sandpaper for the soul, like for us to move forward, like for us to have to get to whatever is the next thing. That's like a really interesting way of thinking about it. So
it kind of ties back into purpose, and that it's like no, all of our lives, I mean, people say that, and then it's like people say that everyone's life has purpose, and then it's kind of skated over. But if you really believe in these core fundamental ideas, and you know, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, whatever you choose to believe, giving your life a North Star, a purpose, it's just like it gives you meaning, and it allows for deeper connection and deeper like emotional unveiling.
Yeah.
Which I would define as beauty.
Yeah.
And horror.
There's so many it's funny because you could be like a Buddhist Jew. There's like, because a huge part of like Jews love to talk about the shit. Like Jews love to be like, yeah, maybe.
That's my favorite spiritual answer to anything. Yeah, maybe. There's no way of knowing.
But it's beautiful that we even have the ability to be like, maybe.
Examine our existence and contemplate it.
Yeah, like possible.
Yeah.
Maybe. But like we can't even use the entirety of our brain, right? To like even be able to understand like what is even going on in like a more divine, like greater way. Like we can't, like I don't even think we can, which is probably why I can't speak to this as much, but like psychedelics do bring you into that like realm.
For me, they just strip away all the bullshit, the ancillary things that like really actually don't matter, and that like the core processes of your brain are consumed by, which is like just narrative, relational narrative, like narrative of your own like place in the world, narrative of profession, like it's all just story. We're all the most amazing authors that have ever existed, telling ourselves these stories.
Cruel, too. We're cruel.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, yeah, psychedelics kind of strip that away. And when you strip it all away and you're left with just awareness and the ability to sit in your backyard and listen to crickets and be completely happy being right where you are, you don't want anything else. There's nothing else to want.
Do you feel like once you had that awareness, it made doing the like it almost makes it seem like we're cosplaying humans. We got to go to the DMV. So let me, like, those activities then, do they become just these like benign kind of like things that you're like, I gotta do it, whatever, and I bring kind of a playful idea. It's chill. You don't get frustrated. You don't get. Do you bring a lot of that into those other things?
It's a wave and a spectrum, right? Sometimes yeah, and sometimes like no. I'm like completely forgetting all of this higher minded bullshit that I'm espousing right now, and I'm just completely Konrad, super frustrated that his kid's throwing a tantrum, and I'm like, would you just fucking shut up in my mind? You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's that, but you know, I was having, this is a ridiculous experience, but I was washing the dishes one night and I was like thinking, I was like, okay, let me think about this. If I am a piece of like, okay, say this whole reality is God, or give it a name that you like. Mm-hmm. If this whole reality is God and God has divided itself into an infinite amount of pieces, mm-hmm. and it's all, God is these now switched off infinite amount of pieces, unaware that they are God, interacting with each other.
That's a lot of what I believe.
And if that's happening, then right now when I'm washing dishes, I am God washing the dishes. And why would God decide to be a Konrad and wash the dishes? Maybe God wanted to wash the dishes as a Konrad, but maybe myself as the Konrad is in charge of feeling whatever God is going to feel as Konrad is washing the dishes. So now I have a choice. Like if God is viewing reality through the Konrad lens, what am I allowing God to view? Resentment that I'm washing the dishes, or like excitement and like just contentment to be washing dishes?
In the warm water.
Being of service to my family, or like, right. Or just entertaining the idea that I am God washing dishes, and how ludicrous that sounds to my westernized mind.
Right.
Or any mind. Maybe that is ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I love these like mystical ways of like thinking about life, and I'm processing that, and I love it, and it makes me wonder if then I'm the opposite of a cynical person, mm-hmm. but we're making a podcast. I have a question.
Sure.
Like, I wonder do you think that, okay, I genuinely believe in like life force never dying, in that yes, we're all God experiencing each other, and you know, like we're all God and dragon. I genuinely do believe that. To me, it's not just a symbol to make me feel comfort. To me, I truly believe it, and I also think when you experience close death and grief, and it forces you to really think about these things and cultivate those beliefs, and it just automatically sharpens it a little bit because you go inward and you think about these existential things. I wonder though if humans are what if we're just humans who have cultivated these mystical ideas that are actually not real, and they're actually just coping mechanisms to allow us to exist peacefully. So like whether that be people going to church, whether that be someone doing, you know, like mushrooms or DMT or you know, like frog extract and like whatever, or smoking pot or going to synagogue, like if these are all just human constructs, because it is just such a strange experience being here, and what if none of it is real and they're all just ideas to allow us to cope?
Maybe.
Speak on it.
Yeah, maybe.
Speak on it.
I don't know, maybe. No, that's a complete possibility, and that's okay if that's the case, because it all is kind of the same, right? Like, and what a beautiful thing that evolution has given us in the ability to construct our own reality, to process this shit. You know what I mean? What a fucking, also a gift and a curse, right? It's like, maybe that's the actual definition of heaven and hell. The way you construct the story of your reality is what is deciding whether you're in heaven or in hell. And even if it's a evolutionary just sort of circumstance that we have the ability to do that, well, I would say that that is informing our reality and the truth and the nature of it. In which case, then it doesn't matter. But man, to you and I right now in this moment, it sure does. Because
it's like an evolved survival tactic or something.
Possibly.
Maybe.
But again, it goes back. It's funny that we keep circulating this
to
purpose. Right? So we have the ability to give ourselves, our families, our communities, our species a purpose. And that's incredible. Think about what you can do with purpose. Literally anything. You go to the moon. Invent nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
volunteer at the Pet Humane Society. Like,
we have the ability to bring ourselves happiness.
Yes.
So, I mean, if it is just all like just this mechanism, well then thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Right?
Yeah, it's like
horrible.
I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
So like my gratitude to God or my gratitude to nature for constructing what this is. I mean, you know, it's not always amazing, but that's only because I've told myself the story that it's not always amazing.
Right.
It always has the potential to be amazing. And the more I believe that, the more it is.
Yeah. It's this. That's it. It's really just this. It's wild. I need to do a trip. I haven't yet.
Trip.
I'm not ready. I thought I would be by the time I turn 30, which I am, and I just haven't felt the right time. But I think I'm scared to see of what it's gonna show me. Maybe.
Can we pause real fast so I can go to the bathroom?
Go pee.
Okay, thank you.
We'll probably keep rolling, and I'll just like bid on.
Do it.
Or I'll refill our drinks.
Refill our drinks, because I actually want to talk about this. So remember why you are afraid. Okay.
Oh, I know why I'm afraid.
Oh,
you trust.
And now, before the next show starts, let's enjoy an intermission. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn, a complete assortment of delicious candy, and a full line of cigarettes. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now.
That's it.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good. Well, is that one of your favorite songs?
What's that?
Is that one of your like actual favorite?
Yeah, no,
songs?
like I'm not lying. We would have a bunch of oldies on a mixtape that like my mom just had, and it was like one of the things we just kind of kept on rotation nonstop until like MC Hammer came out and Madonna.
Where'd you grow up?
Kansas City.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
I was born in New York, and then we moved when I was 3.
Your parents together?
My dad died when I was a kid.
Ooh, very sorry.
It's okay. I was a kid.
You were a kid.
I don't remember.
You were a kid.
I was a little kid. I was like 2.5.
Oh, wow. No memories besides maybe like via photos and stories or things?
Yeah, pretty much. I've had a couple memories of that time, but the craziest thing, man, so like the whole story about me having to do some like deep work before my son was born involved a 5-gram mushroom trip that my wife and I went on a baby moon down to Rosemary Beach, and I was like, I'm going to do 5 grams of mushrooms. So
Can you give me context for a microdose is how much?
yeah, microdose is like 0.1 to 0.2 grams.
Okay.
So a moderate trip would be from like 1.5 to 2
That's
grams.
what I had. Do you know the keys player for... Boy, it's embarrassing. Don't forget your thought train. What's his name? You know him? You guys would connect. I'm shocked you don't know each other. We'll talk about it. He grows his mushrooms and
That's cool.
And anyway, he grinded it for me, dosed it out literally during COVID, and I still haven't taken it. He powdered it up for me and everything. And he said this is a moderate, and I forgot how much that was. So
Okay.
I think that rings a bell, like that it was 1 to 2, 1.5.
Is it in pill form or what?
No, it's like a powder, and he was like,
Okay.
put it on it, like make a tea.
Yeah, okay.
Put
Yeah,
it on
probably
the
1 to 2.
stove,
And so
drink
then
it.
you go up to like 3 or 4, and then 5 is considered the like heroic dose.
Oh, so that was your first time
Yeah.
at a 5 heroic dose.
Mm-hmm. And I don't have to go in that whole story because it is like a very long, drawn out story that like basically just like visuals presenting themselves as like deep metaphorical truths in my life. But one of the visions that I had was like I was in an all white room. Like it was like kind of almost like if it was like fog, but then there was a light projecting through the fog, so you can't really see in front of you, but it's all really bright. And I'm like really small, or I feel small, and like my hand's held up like this, and I'm holding someone's hand, which ends up being my dad. And so it tells you how big I was because it's like I'm holding my dad's hand, and it's like up here. And then out of nowhere, the hand that I'm holding gets ripped off into the sky, like pulled up to the sky, and my arm gets ripped off. And I'm like sitting in this white room as a little kid, just bleeding.
Whoa.
And it's like...
You're sitting on you guys are outside at this time. Where are you while this is happening?
So I take them...
Give me context.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. So we're sitting on the beach, and I can't remember the time, but it was like there were storms happening or possibly happening. And so I take the dose, and then we're sitting on the beach, and this storm comes rolling in, and I start coming up, and like just lightning everywhere. I'm just like, okay, we need to get back to our room. And that involves like getting on a golf cart with a bunch of old people and acting normal and navigating towards that. And it all went fine. But
And you're having this intense, is it almost like a lucid dream kind of a feeling?
Not at that point. I was coming up, and it was like reality was just kind of waving at me. But yeah, by the time we get into our like little apartment we were renting, like, yeah, it's like I'm like having very lucid dreams.
This is Baby Moon.
Yes.
Okay. This is funny.
Baby Moon.
Story. So was it a positive?
Oh, completely positive. It
experience?
It rolled out my entire family history and the different relationships. It mapped out all the relationships that I had with everybody in my family and what they meant to me and where we were at emotionally and spiritually, and like brought so much healing and forgiveness and acceptance of just the way that everything is, and everything is perfect in all of its flaws.
Can we talk about, and we'll bleep this if you don't want to, but can we talk about your DMT trip?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever done
Because
DMT?
bless you, la Briute, salute, Gesundheit, bless you. because I remember on Earth Day talking about it, and I think that's when I did get anxious because I'd smoked, and we were talking about like radical.
I'm so sorry.
No, it needed to happen too. Also, I think when I get anxious when I smoke pot, and it brings me it's things that I need to address. Like it's because I'm learning how to. It's just feeling it's good. It's like that's why I like weed, because it kind of challenges me sometimes. It either opens me up or it challenges me, and I never know what I'm gonna get, but I enjoy the thrill. But like I remember that story, and I knew like I was familiar a bit because my ex's sister, and he passed away, but like his sister does combo.
Yep.
She and her partner, they live like off grid, and they treat people, and they go and do ceremonies with their teacher and stuff, and they do combo and then they bufo.
Yep.
And so I know that's like the
Bufo
pure, yeah. And they travel all over, and so we've talked a lot about it, and I've done a lot of research, and I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated about all of it, and I think I'll know when I'm called for all of it, and in the meantime I'm learning a ton. But that DMT story blew me away, because it kind of feels like it set the tone for like it was kind of another catalyst for a big shift in a new era of Konrad being in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if the 5-gram mushroom trip was like telling me that I'm okay, that everything's okay, then the DMT trip was then saying, actually, no, nothing's okay.
Okay. And that happened after.
Yeah, that was man, I really regret the irresponsibility of my decisions in doing that. But no, it was like a month after my son was born, and we were completely sleep deprived, like, which brings up anxiety when you have no sleep.
It's a crazy state to be in, Twilight Zone.
Yes. So it really, like, so much change happening, really not the time to have a massive experience like that. I mean, I hate saying, well, I wouldn't change anything about my life because I think it's all intentional and I benefited from it. But, like, man, I'm like right there on the fence of saying I regret that.
Wow. But you wouldn't be with this perspective
I know.
had you had that.
Absolutely. That's why I don't say that. But it's like it was an intense enough experience where I would. So, yeah, so my mushroom dealer at the time offered to, like, host me and provide the DMT for me. And he told me, it was really funny, or really kind of interesting, that when I went over to his house to do it, he was like, just so you know, like, nothing will be the same after this. Like, you cannot go back to not doing it.
Is he someone who had, like, been on trips with people and as their...
Looking back on
like
it,
a buddy.
He was loosely a buddy. He grew...
Acquaintance
Yeah,
dealer.
he grew mushrooms, and I liked him well enough. But, like, looking back on it, I can see, like, there was turmoil in his life. There was turmoil on the farm that, like, I was doing the ceremony in. Like, it was not...
But it was done as sort of like in a ceremony mode.
It was out of a gravity bong by a campfire.
Okay. Like, he's like makeshift
I mean,
grassroots.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was like... Which one? I would never suggest anybody smoking DMT out of a gravity bong. That's insane. And so it was like a 1.5 gallon gravity bong, and he's like, this might be good. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever you think. I don't know anything
Nashville?
about it. Yeah, just north.
Huh.
And so, yeah, it's like we set it all up, we do it, and it's like usually you have to take 3 hits off of a little pipe, and then you'll expand outwards. But, like, you know, the whole gravity bong filled up. I go to do it, take the hit, and shove it all down my lungs, and just immediately I'm like, oh no.
It was
Immediately,
immediate.
like everything in my visual field started vibrating and, like, coursing with lightning. Everything, trees, him, the fire. It was just like lightning was just bolting through it.
Are you having a lot of thoughts at once, like the way when you get too stoned or something, where you're like, I shouldn't have done it. This is happening. I'm stuck. What's gonna happen? I'm having this thought. I'm having this.
Kind of, but also acutely aware that I was dying. Like,
Okay.
it felt exactly like dying. And not that I had ever felt dying before, but I immediately knew. I was like, oh shit. Like,
were you at peace with it?
Not at first. Like, so I start dying and I'm like running through my head. It's like, fuck, I just had a kid. I'm like letting my son down. I'm letting my wife down. I wasn't thinking about, I didn't consider the ramifications of this and the consequences.
So you even had that awareness too of
in the split. I mean, we're talking about 15 seconds of awareness that I had. So like 15 seconds goes by and I'm having all of these thoughts, and like I just remember thinking, I'm like, I'm going to do to my son what my dad did to me. And he left me. And fuck, that's not what I wanted to do. As my consciousness is fading, as I'm like struggling to breathe, as I like I'm forgetting how to breathe because I'm just like, I have no awareness anymore. And I remember just thinking like, okay, at some point before I just completely went into nothingness, thinking like, well, I chose this. If this is my reality from now on, then I better come to peace with it. Because if this is all there is for the rest of time, or rest of my experience of time, well, then I don't want to sit in this regret. So I better surrender to what is happening right now. And so I did that, and then I zapped into a place that's many people would just call the void. Like, I didn't experience a DMT realm with lights and colors and elves and all the things. Like, there was none of that. It was just pure. If there was something behind awareness, that is where I went. I'm not aware.
Were you perceiving you weren't perceiving any, you weren't even perceiving yourself? Were you watching yourself, or you were behind your eyes still?
It was blackness, but I was aware that there was blackness, but I wasn't aware that I was aware.
Did you feel anything in your body, or did you have any awareness of your body at that point? Like, was there anyone who wasn't on DMT who was watching?
Yes. My friend was.
Sitting? Were you laying? Were you?
He said I got up at one point, took off my shirt, and ran towards a lake, to which he had to tackle me and bring me back to the fire.
Do you remember what you were
No recollection.
during that time? Okay.
No, I was essentially blacked out.
Yeah, I wonder what your internal experience was that sent you there.
It was like every once in a while I would get these glimpses of reality. And what I'm like, think about reality right now. If you're looking at this, we're in a room.
Yeah.
There's a slight buzz in the headphones. There's lights. I'm getting feedback from you, visual feedback, and light is bouncing everywhere. So imagine if you're sitting in a empty black void, and then someone comes and punches you with reality. Everything in reality. The sound.
Like being born.
Exactly. Wow. What a great, yeah. It's exactly like being born, except for then you're pulled back and you're in the void again. And then someone punches you with reality, and then you're back in the void. So you're experiencing this, like...
Is the void peaceful?
The void is nothing.
So you don't even physically... do you have a memory of your physical feelings when you were in the void?
There's no physical.
There's nothing.
There's nothing except for the awareness...
that it is.
Of nothingness.
Okay.
But not understanding what nothingness is. It's just that there's something, and then there's nothing.
When you think about it now, does your nervous system have a reaction of like, ooh, that felt kind of blue. That felt kind of strange. That felt kind of... Do you have like a visceral reaction to like that memory?
It's just, I mean, the intensity of going from nothingness to everythingness. I mean, I remember that. I mean, it was violent. It felt very violent.
Feels like that literally sounds like what it must feel like to be born.
Absolutely. I imagine being born to be incredibly traumatic.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Horrifying, actually, yeah.
But even before you're born, you're in a womb, and you have to have awareness of the womb, and there's sounds, and there's things happening within the womb. I'm talking about nothing, like nothingness, and then everything in reality hitting you. So it's unlike anything I had ever experienced, obviously, and I come out of the trip. Most DMT trips are supposed to last 10, 15 minutes. Mine was 45 minutes. which is kind of I don't know, for me it was a lot. And, you know, was like, okay, you were right. That was weird. That's crazy. All right, great. And I leave, and about 3 weeks or a month goes by, and I forget, I was in my studio, and I like hit a joint, and all of a sudden, like, reality just goes and just turns 90 degrees. And I have my first ever panic attack. And it's such an intense experience because I go back to that, like, void, everything punching me in the face void, and I start kind of going back and forth and reliving that trauma.
You felt it via the panic attack, or the panic attack reminded you of it?
Kind of. Or
Okay.
I was, like, re-experiencing that, and that was bringing a sense of panic.
Yeah.
And then I dissociated and basically lived in that, like, panic attack state for the next year and a half.
On and off? Were you having panic attacks like daily?
No, it was constant.
How were you? Did you stop smoking at one point? Were you like, I'm not gonna smoke?
Oh, I couldn't do
You
anything.
couldn't function.
No, I was functioning. It was like if you're standing on the edge of a swimming pool, and the swimming pool is normal reality, and everything, once you're in the pool, everything's great and it feels normal, but everything outside of the pool is like this panic state of like of dissociation and the inability to really contemplate what is happening in your life. I had a toe in the swimming pool.
Oh, you're constantly on the edge. You're trying to just.
I had just enough awareness to realize what was happening and to keep my shit on the rails. And again, I go back, I really credit the birth of my son for just me not unraveling completely, because I was needed.
Did you tell anybody while this was happening?
I told my wife, and man, she's like breastfeeding and like taking care of our son, and she's like, I'm not going to hear anything you're going to say. And she even says, I don't remember any of that. Like, I don't remember you talking about it. I don't, like...
It's another, it's a Twilight Zone, too.
Yes.
Like, the giving birth, like, that's a whole, the first year.
And I'm grateful. I didn't want to burden her with that. It's like, goes back to that guilt of like, man, I made this decision that's completely irresponsible and crazy, and it jeopardizes the health of my family, the health of me,
And yet somehow it's exactly what you was supposed to happen.
Yes,
that was
because I'm disembodied.
You're supposed to do to learn.
I feel disembodied. I feel like dissociated. I'm dissociated. I am in this constant state of fight or flight and panic, and everything shifts. I would look at you, and you would look like a wax figurine, like at the wax museum of celebrities. Mm-hmm. That is what you would look like, and everybody looked that way. The sun was no longer yellow or golden. It was white. It was like looking at a fluorescent light, and had no warmth. I felt no warmth from it. And I felt contained in this box. And like the box was reality, but I knew that there was a bigger reality outside of that. Like I felt it in my bones.
But
I couldn't get it. I was stuck here.
And then panic.
I mean, that would kind of constantly feed that panic. That was always happening, always with me.
Were you able to work?
Somehow. I don't know that any of the work I did was good. I couldn't tell you. And honestly, I don't remember what I worked on at the time. Luckily, I had planned on just kind of being there with family for about 9 months and had set aside money to be able to do that. So
like paternity leave, be home with the baby.
Yes, exactly.
Adjust and okay.
So it wasn't imperative for me to work, but eventually I would have to go back. And so I started having these thoughts that, well, what if I am still on that farm in the process of dying? And what if my mind is unable to contemplate that and therefore projected this new reality inside my mind for me to live out another lifetime while my brain is dying.
It's like an obsessive thought too, but it's like, it's like, that's terrifying.
Terrifying.
That is terrifying that you also have the capability to craft that thought within your reality. That
Story.
Could be a reality. It's a whole new story, but also, is it a story? Maybe it's real.
Maybe.
You don't know it. And I think the smarter, also this, I don't mean to this to sound a certain way or not, but like the smarter you, like smarter people tend to have a lot of like, the more capable you are of like expanding in that way, it's like, it's kind of be dangerous. Like, how do you, like, I think that's why I'm scared of taking drugs, because I'm not smart, like book smart, but like what eventually, so, okay, context, you're in a moment of thinking, okay,
Elongated moment.
an elongated moment, you're sitting in your house, you're sitting in your studio, wherever you are, you're with the baby, you're hanging out, and you're having this, and it's all internal, I'm assuming, right? Nobody outside knows that this is going on, but you're literally...
Loosely sharing with my wife just because I have to vocalize my experience.
Yeah. But you're not in a good state in
No.
your body, in your mind.
No.
And so you're having this moment of, okay, like sometimes I think like, what if I'm in a hospital somewhere and I've like been in a coma for
Exactly.
fucking 30 years? Like,
Yeah.
And this is just an amazing lucid dream I'm having.
Yep.
Maybe. Like, I don't know.
We can't know.
We can't know, but this is reality as I know it. Like, so you're in this thing, you're in this moment, and you're thinking, fuck, I'm still on the farm. This is just a figment of my trip. This is probably still within a 15-second span that I'm experiencing. And you're having this very overwhelming thought. What would you do to get yourself back to some sort of, like, ability to
There was no,
function?
this is what I would do. I'm continuously having this thought and continually entertaining that this might be the nature of my reality from now on. So then I go into logical mode of like, okay, well, what does that mean? And my logic led me to a few things. One, that's not true, and this is just a physiological response to a drug that I took, and maybe some GABA receptors are all fried and I just got to wait for those to grow back, or this is bro science, so I don't know.
You're thinking like logically,
Yes.
like, I'm not on a farm, I'm fine, this is just a fucked up reaction.
Or I am trapped inside of this reality, and the only way to get back to my real wife and kid is for me to die in this reality and make my way back.
Okay.
Which is a horrifying thought, because like that means that I would have to take matters into my own hands. And so I sat with that thought and that feeling for a couple months and was like, okay, is this the case? Well, if it's not, that's pretty big ramifications for this version of my wife and child. And which, I mean, I know all this sounds crazy. Getting to the other side of it, it's a beautiful story, but right now in the midst of it, it sounds crazy because I was fucking crazy.
But if your belief system, if you think in that moment, this isn't even real anyway, if you're just in a lucid dream, the thought of, I just need to die in this reality to get to we know it's real, so it sounds scary. Like,
Yes.
yeah, but in your thought of maybe what reality was, it wasn't real.
No, so that goes, and so it went, like, okay, well, this is the story that I'm telling myself. Let's bounce it back into the logic side of the brain. I can't know if that's true or not. Just like I can't know what happens when I die. Like, nobody's going to know that until you cross that threshold. What I do know in this moment is that I do have this wife and I do have this child, and these people need me. Even if it's a reality that I've constructed within my own mind, I know that these people need me. And I know that I have friends and I have family that also need me, and I need them within this reality. So what can I do now to connect to this reality?
I'm listening. I'm just also double checking.
That's all right.
We're good. Keep going.
And so thinking that way, what is my interface within this reality? How can I connect? And what's the interface with reality, if I were to ask you that question?
In this moment,
Every moment. What's your interface with reality?
myself,
Your body.
your body. It's whether it's a dream state or not. It's what's real in this moment. That's the fact.
You have feeling in
I
it.
have feeling like I can't
Perceived feeling. Yeah. So I was like, I need to learn how to connect to my body, which, man, just led me down a whole host of new things. The Wim Hof and the ice bath thing, which this was like, now it's all the rage, but this was 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And got way into that, got way into breath work, got way into yoga, got way into running, just really
By necessity.
If I'm not going to do this thing, then I'm going to struggle.
You're going to end up in like a home.
Yeah.
Like you're going to end up somewhere lost in your mind a little
Because
bit.
I'm barely hanging on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just started doing all of those things. And I remember it was, so that happened in October. It was January. And I remember I'm sitting out there just like still just completely dissociated. And I've got a hammer and I've got a horse trough full of water that I'm hammering the ice off of, because I know that as soon as I step into this ice or this cold, then I'm going to snap back into my body. I'm going to feel as though this reality's real.
You'll have confirmation.
Exactly.
It's like pinch me.
Yep. And I will feel those million daggers going into my leg that tell me, like, no, this is real. You are here. Feel this. Be present to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get out. And then, the effects would kind of start to wear off and I would go back. But then, after months and months and months of doing that, I finally had this moment to where it's like I sat in the ice bath. And then it's like, when you're like descending in an airplane and your ears get pressurized and they pop. It's like all of reality did that. It popped.
I was going to say, when was it the switch over?
Yeah. So, it would have been a year and a half.
What led you to like even seek out? Were you at the time like, did you go to? Were you thinking like, I'm gonna need to go on something prescriptive? I need to go to therapy. Like something's going on here, or what led you instinctively down a path of like, let me look into alternative ways.
To me, it was like
this subculture of.
I got myself into this. This was my choice, and I just had a belief that I would find my way out. And not that I'm against prescribed drugs.
Totally.
I think they're actually, I've had experience with some friends and they're extremely helpful and wonderful things. But it never at any point felt like that was going to be my journey. It's like I am here and I know that there's a way out. I know there's a way, or I guess I should say a way in.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the somatic, like my therapist tells me it's like when you're disassociated like that, like, if your arm gets ripped off, you're dismembered. So you need to like remember. And like the only way to remember is to like do something to get you back into your body. And I just did my first ice bath last week.
How was it?
I was incredibly scared. And I'm not, I wasn't like, I know all about the ice baths. Like, I know it's like, it's hip and it's culturally like wokey, like thing that people are doing to like heal themselves. But I also know about it. Like, I've known about like Wim Hof from the periphery and I've like seen his videos and stuff. So I've known, but like, I was so fucking scared. And I just did I just did it. And it was the most intense thing I've ever done.
Wow.
Like physically, emotionally, like I've been through more intense things, but like physically, like I used to play sports. I went bungee jumping once. Like I've done scary things. It was intense. Like it was I knew exactly why I was scared, because it was exactly as scary as I thought it was going to be. And then kind of equated it with like an inverse orgasm where you're like, this actually is like horrifying. Like this is forcing me. And the only way this is the least pleasurable. If I think of the most pleasurable, It's like would be that, like this visceral, like I'm in this total blissed out state. And if I would think of the inverse of that, I would think of an ice bath. Wow. Was how it felt. And then, but the release felt similar in like this, after the first 2 minutes, and my body was warning me, he was like, 2 minutes, just get through the first 2 minutes. And you have no, either you're going to get out, or you have, if you're going to stay in, your only choice is to breathe.
Yes.
And that's, in any case, your only choice is to breathe. When you're at rock bottom in your day and you're having a panic attack, your only choice is to breathe. There's nothing else for you. And if you can count on that, so I was, holy cow. And I didn't do any like training, like Wim Hof training. I just got in. But then
it makes all
release.
It makes all the difference.
I'm sure it does. I should have like prepped. I literally just like slowly got in. Like I couldn't catch my breath, and then I had to like you figure it out, because you're like, I'm not gonna die. Like, I'm not gonna die. I'm just gonna figure it out and breathe through it. But then there was this incredible release that's comes kind of a similar blissed out. That's like after you like where you get through those daggers and the pins, and then I felt this like, it's like warm, tingly. Getting out feels amazing. And then it kind of also just had this other symbolic thing of, like, I don't love to be I love to be uncomfortable in the sense of I love going camping. I love being in uncomfortable situations. I don't need a lot. I can pack a backpack and travel for a week. I'm fine. There's something about the cold that I don't want to face it. I love the heat. I'm a sun goddess. I love the warmth. I grew up in Florida. The cold is scary, like, and it taught me that I could, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you can do it. You can breathe through it. And if I could breathe through that, then I can do many other things. And if I can rely on my breath in that sense, then I can rely on my breath every day. And, like, it just reminded me to get back in my body, exactly like what you're saying, because it's like the irony of being someone who's, like, a little bit always kind of thinking and always kind of floating and hypotheticals and thinking about life force and like what does it mean to be here, and like there's an idea of like, oh, I'm aware and I'm here and I'm present, but like in the same way I'm like so not sometimes, because I'm like so far removed from my physical body that it's actually like the opposite of being aware. It's like it's like a false awareness, because I'm literally not in my body at all. Like, I'm actually most aware when I'm like, like when I was playing basketball, you know, in high school, when I'm like, you're feeling your pain of your sweat and you're running and you're being intimate with somebody, you can feel your body. But I feel like, especially in work and day-to-day life, it's very easy to be like laid back and sedentary, and you forget that you're inside of your body, and then subconsciously things are just happening to your nervous system. And if you forget to check in with your body, then that's, for me, when I will have a panic attack or whatnot. So it's like I loved that I felt alive. Like after the first 2 minutes of that, like getting through it felt incredible. I'm alive. Yeah. It was.
You want to shout it out?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to cry, but like I didn't, because I was around a couple of friends. like I'm not great. I'm still getting there, being able to like be that exposed. But like, it was amazing. It felt really good. Do you have one at your house? You have the whole setup.
Kind of. Yeah, it's a ghetto version of it. It's just a freezer.
Okay.
That I put marine caulk around so that it doesn't drip. I'm going to invest in the prettier version of it.
Are you going to put it outside the studio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm going to get one for the house, and then we're spending the summer up in Kansas City with my mom. I'm going to get one for up there, because it's like, man, it's such a big part of my life, my wife's life. Like,
do you guys do it every day now?
I have done it most days. I went up to New York and just got back, and so I haven't done it since I've been back. But yeah.
Do you try to get 11 minutes in?
11?
Is that that's what I heard the number is through the week?
Oh, through the week.
At least get 11 minutes of exposure.
Yeah, I do 5 minutes a day.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's like I keep it at 40 degrees, 5 minutes a day.
Oh man! And when you're okay, so you're just in New York, and we can talk about that if you want to. But when you travel, do you still like, will you take a cold shower? Like, how do you upkeep? Do you have a fear of like falling back into, or do you think that's long gone?
The fear is long gone, but no, I'm kind of horribly out of shape right now, and like my mental discipline has gone way down just because I've been focusing on work. Like, I've had a big couple of years, and it's just like I've decided like I'm gonna just give everything I've got to this thing because like when stuff kind of pops off, you have to be ready for that, and so you give more of yourself than you would otherwise. And so it's just like I realize that it's like you have 100% of your attention and your focus, and you have to divide that. And for a long time I was giving a significant amount of that to like personal wellness, and it's just like for the past year I haven't been. But it's nothing I fear, or I mean, maybe I will in moments, but then I'll just remind myself like, no, actually this is intentional.
Yeah. And you're not on the edge. That was your son, he's almost 8, so at this point that was
Yeah, I'm not going to fall back
era
into
ago,
that like panic attack thing. Like honestly, like I felt maybe like 3 since then, like in the past 7 years, felt panic attacks come up, and like it's kind of to the point to where I just go, okay,
yeah, you know how to like get out of it.
that's fine. Like, oh, we're going to be panicking now.
Getting there.
Like we're going to do that, and that's okay. Like I'm comfortable with that space, and if that's what I'm supposed to feel in this moment, well then my body's telling me something, or my mind is telling me something that I am overlooking. So why am I panicking?
Yes.
And I'll ask myself questions of like, no, obviously I'm feeling this physiological response to data that I'm getting for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
And I've cultivated enough of a trust in my body to where I know it's like it's giving me all the feedback I need. So if I'm panicking about something, well then I fucking need to be panicking.
Observe it a little,
like,
see what's up.
That's fine. Let's panic. let's like lose our shit for a little while.
Let's not get scared about why we're like let's not get scared that we're panicking. Let's just like
panic.
Feel it. Let's
yeah.
do it. I'm not gonna die again.
And
like, it's okay.
And sit in the feeling.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with feeling bad. I think our culture has equated this whole thing of like, no, we need to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're not feeling good, something's wrong, and you're living your life a bad way, and you need to figure that out. And we have an answer for that. It's like, well, maybe, but also maybe our culture's a little fucked up, or maybe something I'm doing right now isn't healthy for me, and I need to reconsider what I'm doing. Like, which there's nothing wrong with reconsidering what you're doing and getting on a different path.
Yeah, because that's not law. You made that up anyway.
It's a story.
Make up a new thing. Anyway, speaking of stories. Who's good at writing stories? Taylor Swift. Who was at the studio when you were there? Taylor Swift.
It was weird.
Okay, you just got back from Electric Lady, and which is a studio in New York. Did you see her there? Was she nice?
I didn't talk to her.
Hey, my name is Konrad. Let me talk about my DMT trip.
Absolutely not. Like, no, they were like, Lee, who is the studio manager of Electric Lady, best studio manager that has ever been ever. Like, this dude.
Is he like an old dude, like old school guy?
No, I mean, he's like, I don't know how old he is, but he's like my age, maybe a little older, but like
cool.
A total pure. But just like, man, he just is so considerate of everybody and everything. I don't know how he does it, because it's like, yeah, you got T Swift on the roof with Jack Antonoff and his fiance.
That's his like spot there.
Yeah,
so he makes a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, we were in Studio D, and it's like there's like he's put up pictures all around. He's like, this is mine.
He basically like moved in.
This is mine.
How many rooms are there? Like what's the Electric Lady like set up?
So Jimmy bought the building and was renovating the studios downstairs, Jimi Hendrix, and so he.
Oh, good. I was wondering, Jimmy Iovine. No.
Jimmy. It took a long time because they were digging below and there's a river that runs below there, so they were having all these flooding issues. So it like took a long time to figure out.
It's in the city, like proper, like
By
what part?
NYU, like right by Washington Square Park. It's like right around the corner.
Okay, cool.
And so yeah, he had his apartment and offices on the second and third floor, and then they were building the studio downstairs. And if I'm getting the history wrong, I apologize. It's like very fresh and very new to me.
Totally, yeah.
So all the offices for Electric Lady are on the second floor, and then on the third floor, the top floor, there is a mix room, which right now I think Tom Elmhurst is in, and then there's Studio D, which is like, it's amazing. There's a vintage API console. There's Windows. They're probably like all the artists that work there regularly are going to get mad that I'm talking about it because it's going to become more popular. But you've got natural light. You've got access to the roof, so you can just like go out and walk out and hang out there. There's a like.
Does it feel spacious? Because in New York, I think like.
I mean, you might have just as much room. It's like, this is a nice amount of room, and in New York, it's luxurious, but it's not huge. It's like, I've been in gigantic recording spaces. It is not that. I mean, it feels like a living room. It's
like personal. It feels cozy, like you can open up.
Yeah.
Like I can't like some people like I can't get settled in like those kind of like big or like commercial. Like I can't I wouldn't be able to like be open in those. But like it feels.
It's very intimate sounding. And I love that sound. I mean, it just sounds like. If you wanted a record that sounded like you're in your house, it's the perfect spot. I mean, it sounds really, really cool.
And when you guys, so there's, you just named three different rooms. How many studios?
Yeah, so there's A and B in the basement, and those are like larger rooms.
And the mix room.
I have not seen B, so I don't know how big it is. But A is awesome. They've got all these old murals that Jimmy had done. Like, it's insane. And like, you really feel like you're a part of history when you record there. It's like wild.
I'm in some path and I've landed here, and this is like I'm now part of the fabric of this zeitgeist of yeah.
And then I wasn't
very cool.
I wasn't in B, and I think another artist had locked out B, so we weren't going in there. But yeah, so we were up in D most of the time, down in A some of the time, and it's like one of the best spots. That's
rad. And is there like a live, so in each studio there's like a live space with like there's everything, there's drums, there's piano, like everything you would need to record. Every studio has that.
I wasn't in B, but I would assume so.
Cool.
Yeah,
man. How long were you there for?
2 weeks.
Oh my goodness,
dude, so sick.
So you stayed, and like you stay in a hotel nearby?
We stayed at the Chelsea Hotel, which has its own history.
Yeah.
Wild. Like, there's people. This is crazy. So there are they had apartments there.
Okay.
And people still live there. And there are people that are paying like $20 a month
to live at their grandfathered in to live at the Chelsea.
Yes, at the Chelsea Hotel. $20. I think
crazy.
They said is the lowest of it. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know how that works.
That's fucking insane. That is so cool. I saw on again, now that I'm someone's mother, I don't go. I'm on Instagram now, like work, and then I try to hop off.
Good for you.
Do my fucking job. Like I don't get paid to be on Instagram. Like I get I want to make art. Like I'm trying to make music. But when I do on Instagram, I saw you're an Electric Lady. And I was like, fuck yeah, I can't wait. I hope we get to talk about it, because it's so iconic. And like, just as someone on the outside, like we've written a song together, and you mix a lot of like peers and friends of mine, and you write with a lot of peers and friends of mine. And like, I've had a vantage point as someone who's lived here of you from afar, and then we got to meet, and then it's just someone who's like who's been doing it a little bit longer, who I get to see like on a path that gets to keep. It's almost like someone who's because I listen your song is literally like like soul music is on like Luna's playlist for when she was born. Like I might have sent you a video, I don't know.
You
but
did.
like I love your music that you make, but I also know you mix and you produce and you do a lot of, you're a music person. You're like me. Like I love music so much. And it's cool to see someone who's been doing it longer getting to like work on things that are like getting to a place where like, oh yeah, like cool, like he like there's it's clicking, like he's in tune with what he's doing, so much so that like the people who are making like he's transcending, like him, like he's transcending, like it's cool, it's inspiring, because like
Thank you.
it's hard to sometimes look at, you're like, yeah, you still feel like, I don't know, sometimes I still feel fucking 12. I mean, my mom's here visiting, and there's nothing that reverts you back to being like, to feeling so inadequate and like feeling like like a child again, like when you're with your own parent.
You fall back into those patterns pretty fast.
Yeah, like my mom was like, son, I watched a half of your first podcast, and like she, you know, like I'll send her mixes of stuff, like I'll send her my music, and she's so supportive and she's so awesome. But it's yeah, it's just a different, you know, you still feel 12 and you're like not capable, and you forget like you're a grown person, and like I have a studio and I play and I've like found purpose in making, in expressing myself.
You sound sophisticated.
Expressing myself via words, whether that be musical or through talking to people, and like it like put a smile on my face. I was like, he's an electric, yeah, like yes, that is, because it's inspiring for me, who's like it takes a choice to like believe in yourself every day.
100%.
And it is a choice, and it like you said, everything's a mindset thing, and so it is a choice to be like, I know that I'm capable of doing this, and I know that can access this part of myself because I've done it before, and I know how to get to this place, and I know how to help other people to get to this place, and and it's just like inspiring, and also like it kind of gets me into this like wonderment place when I think about the fact that like I live in a place and I've gotten to write with people and like actually just like know people and like be friends with people who are like going to transcend and who are like transcending, and that like it makes me feel like I am not crazy for having chosen to make music. Like other people chose to like express themselves, and it's going, and like you're sticking on your track, and it's like I'm just fucking, I know we're not like BFFs and I want to be, but like I genuinely felt this like it's just fucking cool. I think that's amazing, and I know you've been living here for a long time, and I know you've been, I mean, we all have been like, we've all fallen in love with music for different reasons, and we stay in it through like the muck and the shit because we love it so much, and then you keep going to try to find this like in search of like the orgasmic moments. And
you're talking about the alchemist's gold and the elixir of life, the most like distilled version of yourself and of your purpose. It's
like born, and then we like lose it, and then like you get to like try to find it again. And
we are incredibly lucky to be able to do that, and we're incredibly lucky to be able to do music. I mean, it's just like the opportunities that have happened, and like God, I'm here because of the community that I'm surrounded by, like unequivocally. Like there's people that can do it all themselves, like the Kevin Parkers, who's just like they can pretty much do everything. Like he engineers, he plays, he writes. It's like a one-stop shop, and man, that's not me at all. And it's just like I am defined by the people around me, and I have been incredibly lucky to just be surrounded by the best people.
It's like it's almost like it's a mirror. You attract what you feel you are. Like you attract it though. Like so it makes sense, and it's like you wouldn't have had that if you hadn't have had the awareness of like what you were able to. First of all, it's fucking crazy that we have the ability to express ourselves, because I think about like, because sometimes it's hard. Like sometimes it's like you wake up in the middle of the night and like I don't want to get out my notepad or my phone and like write down what I'm like can't, like, oh, my mind's racing, or like it's torturous sometimes. Like I don't want to. Sometimes it's like a compulsive thing. Like I have to get it out because it's gonna like I'm gonna lose it, or I'm gonna like always want to write it down and then I don't want to like wait. It's kind of like I joke like, yeah, it is like a blessing and a curse, but what would be like harder, I think, as an existence would be to like not have the tools within yourself to be able to like get it out.
Absolutely.
And being stuck feeling and not knowing how to like, even if it's just like jamming, like even if it's just playing, like just expressing, even if it's just like playing with your friends and like jamming and being able to like, there is like a nervous system and like an expression that like needs to happen. I like literally couldn't imagine like not having, I don't know. I mean, I think like athletes express themselves via their sport, you know, like we all, and I think it is important for everybody to be able to like you have to find a way to like let something out, because if you don't have it, it's like, that sounds horrifying.
From my experience of life in people, you are defining 90% of our population who have no forms of expression, who have no forms of that relief that comes from that expression. And I mean, which is what you call repressed. And a family member, I was talking to a family member and they were talking about how they were saying how they never learned how to write a letter, and they wish they knew how to express themselves and their thoughts and to get it down on paper so they could say the way that they felt. And I just remember thinking like, oh my God, this is kind of like what I do for a living.
It's literally what you do for a living.
And how lucky. I put myself, I'm an empath, and so I instantly, anytime someone like is feeling something or says a feeling, I immediately embody that feeling. And it was just horrific. It was a horrific feeling of not being able to express my experience. Mm-hmm. And to know that is the way so many people live, which is why it's so fucking important for us to have the courage to do that.
And to be in play.
Yes, and to be in play. But like we express ourselves, whether it's through music, whether it's through writing, whether it's through filmmaking, when you express an internal reality, an emotion, you are inviting others to connect to that expression. And like, how many times have you listened to a song and you're like, that's exactly how I feel? And there's a release. There's a physical release that happens through somebody else's perspective. Like, holy shit, what you're talking about at that point is magic.
And it meets you like right at the right time. Like that's when John Mayer found me. 16. That's when I found John Mayer. It's like 16 is like driving my, like my car. Like I worked at Einstein's Bagels, but like, and hearing and I didn't speak out loud about a lot of these things, but like, and then I would hear like, I'm so scared of getting older. I'm only good at being young. So I play the numbers game to find a way to say that life has just begun. Huh? And I was like, yeah, like, and like had a talk with my old man, said, help me understand. And you said, turn 58, you renegotiate. And I'd be like it was like philosophy to me. Like it was like a new, and then it makes you think like, okay, I'm not the only person. Like I'm not the only person. And so in the moments, like when you say that, it gives me reassurance, because sometimes I wonder about like, if being big and like sharing things and like fully outstretching myself, like as big as I am, like I'm bigger than my body gives me credit for, like John Mayer quote 101. That was like my thing. It was like full on being like full on just like saying what you want to say and like expressing how you want to express and fully embodying it, fully doing it. Almost to me sometimes feels I can train the story in my head is like that's self-serving. Keep it on your hard drive. Don't show anybody. You never need to like, it's wrong to want to play the rhyme and you know like it like these like.
But if you don't do it, who will?
Exactly. And if like I hadn't heard certain songs, or if you hadn't heard certain songs, it wouldn't have said. So it's like I needed to hear certain songs when I heard them. You needed to take DMT when you took it. I needed to have a kid when I had a kid. It's like, it's all, and if like, I don't know, like nothing is more, I would view like, oh, maybe I should go and force myself to become like a nurse because that's a more valuable role in society or like to peoplehood. Like, I don't know, the first thing about like I would never want to be like that. Takes a special kind of a person that I'm not wired that way. I'm not built that way. I am music.
The nurse profession is for the nurses.
I express, yeah. Like I thought everybody played music, and it's like the things that are intuitive to you are just like, are you, and it's okay. And I think that's like tough for me. But when you say like, it's important for us to like that like the things that we're all sharing are going to register with somebody and are going to like, it all has an impact. It all has an impact on some level. I think that's something I'm like swallowing, like getting like share, like just like.
But I get it. It's hard, and it's being vulnerable is not easy. I mean, I'm sitting on this a cappella song that literally has a drone and me singing over, and I am so self-conscious about releasing it because I'm just like.
Because you feel like you don't want people to hear your flaws, or because you feel like you're going to come across as cocky. That's my fear.
Oh, that's not it at all.
It's different. I don't care to expose myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be self-indulgent.
Oh.
If this is, God forbid, self-indulgent, pious, trite, I don't want to be that. And so that's like a hindrance. But back to your a cappella song, because you have a classic voice. Like, you have this like, it's like it existed in another time. Like it's literally insane. Like I can't wait for like so many people to hear it, because that's the kind of music I love. It's the kind of music I listen to. I love your music, and most importantly, your voice, how you convey the words you're saying. It's like it's timeless. You have like this like timeless tone and ability, and it's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Please release your music.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just like it's naked and it's exposed, but it's like the song. I've tried putting other things over it, and it's like anytime I add something to it, it's no longer authentic. And I'm just like, but also I'm just like, God damn, this is like, I am so exposed. I'm so exposed, and that feeling of being exposed, and I'm singing about very vulnerable things as well. So it's like this double exposure of being like, oh, here's me, and I'm an introvert. That's not my nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Did you record it at the studio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like is it layered with your vocals?
It just
harmonies, or just one?
It literally has a tone. And then my voice that sings over it, which luckily the single tone works. It's like a meditative thing. And then there's like a meditation bell that comes in at the end, and that's it.
It's like Casey Musgrave's mother. It's like it's
not simple, like that, but it is simple.
But it's just this like simple, like unearthed, just like raw, like, yeah, you gotta do it. Yeah, it's like you gotta do it. You gotta do it. I'm recording my podcast. You gotta do it.
Fair enough.
This is literally me facing that exact thing. Self-serving, that like all of these things that I am very scared of being. this is exactly why I'm doing it, because I know it's not. I know I genuinely love having like brain conversation sex with people who want to have it with me too. And I want to hear about it. I want to know. I want to like pry. I want to like, and so this is for me is like being in practice, whether, and even like posting it for like, even if like 30 people see it, like it's like a practice of me, just like doing it.
It's playing.
It's playing. This is me playing, literally, because the other, you know, like, and it's something for when I'm, because the music part can be so serious sometimes, because it is. It's like, sometimes it is, depending on what you're going through, and like, this gives me some levity while I'm deep in something, and like, you know, like, also, like, so you don't have, like, I'm existing, I'm having conversations, but I'm not like sharing music, because maybe I'm like writing right now, I'm working on record, you know, stuff, but like, this is also what's going on in my life. And like, if there's also a part of me, it fills a lot of buckets. I don't know how we got here, but like, it fills a lot of buckets in that like 15-year-old me with access to YouTube would have like loved to be able to sit and like watch people who do music for a living, original music for a living in whatever capacity, and like see what their lives were like up close, like in a real. And so part of me, that's a part of like the healing, like that's a part of like the giving myself what I would have wanted, giving like also accepting that like I'm here, baby, I make music, I'm here, like it, like own it, it's a part of me owning it. So it's like being in practice of just like it is vulnerable, I guess, like it is vulnerable too. Showing people my personality, which I don't often share, but I'm most comfortable playing shows and bantering on stage and talking. And that's how people can get to know me. And so like internet has never been like my best medium. And to me, like this is this is all being in play.
It does
the
feel
whole thing's being in play.
It does feel like you were born to express yourself. I mean, I think everybody is to a certain extent, but it's just like, I don't know. Every time I've talked to you, every time that we've interacted, it's always been this like joyous overflow of you.
And like, what do you got for me? Give me some stuff to like chew on.
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Because I've stopped myself in the past a lot from expressing myself.
Don't do it.
I shouldn't do it.
Nope.
I shouldn't do it. I'm kind of loud, and I'm like, it's literally a physical thing too. Like you like, even my singing, like I don't, you know, I'm not like a bedroom like Beverly, you know. But I sing loud, and and I'm tall, and there's a lot of things that just feel I'm too big for this room. I'm too big for this space. I hunch over next to people when I take pictures. I'm louder than everybody else when I sing in the choir or in the blah bar, and I play drums with fucking gusto, and it's a lot of this feeling too big and too, for whatever reason, like I don't know what gave me the complex, but this is literally me and just like going and like just be like fucking talk and like have fun and fuck around and whatever.
I'm actually curious, what do you think gave you that complex? If you call it a complex. I don't call it a complex. It feels negative to me. I feel
it does feel negative. Well, because I think it is kind of negative. It's like not stepping into your, like, I would never want that for my own daughter.
To be loud? Or
no,
what do you
I
say?
would never want for her to mute her loud.
Oh, yeah.
To the feelings that I felt. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, I went to a super small school growing up for like 10 years, like the same school. And I did so there was opportunities for everybody to sort of participate in everything. So I was in the band and I played drums and guitar and I sang and da-da-da. And then, and then you're in like student government, and I played basketball and I was good at basketball. And like, I think like as a kid, maybe like I relied on like natural God-given skill sets and didn't push myself past a certain, like music's really the only thing that I've continued to like focus on and grow and like expand and go deep, not wide. And I don't know where that complex comes from. Maybe it's something that I'll probably discover hopefully soon, because this is an ongoing thing. This is unresolved. This is like, it's a current thing. It's a current topic. Because I used to step into my power. I used to be loud, and I used to play shows a lot, and then I think I burned out too. So I think I'm like a little bit scared that me fully stepping into my power and like knowing what I am, truly, like deep down, like knowing what I am, it's like I'm scared. I want to make sure I can like have my like mental wellness and like shit under lock, because I think I got when I started making music and like I got like applause, and I'd like, ooh, I want to do that again. Get more applause. Oh man, people like fucking like this. I want to get more applause. And then it became a little bit about that. Yeah. And now I have a different head about it, and it's been like 10 years, and like it's time again, and I'm like, okay, I want to be like, I'm power, like I feel powerful, dude. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel strong, and like and when I'm in my own house, and when I'm comfortable, and I can be expressive and goofy and bitty and whatever, and accepted, and it's fun, and I don't know, maybe it's like a fear of feeling judged, or a fear of feeling like perceived as like, I don't know, like I don't know why I make myself small. I don't know, it's something I need to investigate, but like I'm not small. No, I'm not. And I'm really excited. I literally feel like for me, like Luna is, my daughter is like a part of that for me. Like you know, like it's, I mean, even before having a kid, I probably mentioned this to you. I was like, is it all over when I have her? I'm never going to play a concert again. Or I'm not, like, nobody's going to want to write a song with me. Like, I'm going to be impure or something, like ridiculous. And it's funny because I feel even more in tune and like even more inspired, and even with I have like more perspective now, and more motivation, and more purpose in the things that I say, how I say them, why I say them, how I sing them. What am I, like, I know my voice, because I'm like, I don't want to bullshit her. Yeah. I don't want her to see a faker. I'm not going to be a faker. I just need to be myself, and people don't like it. And if people don't like that, maybe like I curse too much, or that I interrupt a little bit, or that I'm whatever, or that I just need, I watched a podcast that like inspired me during COVID. I'm curious because you said you like podcasts too, like what you listen to. I feel like I have a couple guesses. But there's a podcast that I listened to over COVID that is what inspired me to like literally step more into myself, because I saw someone stepping into themselves. It's this guy Rick Glassman. Okay. He's a comedian. At the time, he was like we are in music, like a working comedian, like would have, and an actor. So he would get like on a show, kind of like we would get an opening run, or like you get to mix a fucking sick, huge record or whatever. He would get like things, and then did like a working actor in LA. I started this podcast during COVID. It was very open. Like he would sit on the mic and just be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm feeling like. While he was podcasting, he ended up getting diagnosed with, he's on the autism spectrum. Okay. So a lot of things came to mind. He ended up landing like a show on Amazon Prime. Amazing. That's about like, he plays an autistic character. He's literally brilliant. His guests are like Larry, whatever, not Larry David, but the other Larry that created like Curb Your Enthusiasm. He gets like Dax Shepard, like he calls it like, and then he has like his peers, like his comedy peers on the podcast, and they just sit, and it's not like, tell me about your life, and da-da-da. They sit, and he's like, dude, like, huh? What's going on this week? And they bit, and they joke, and they get stoned, and then he'll cry sometimes. And he's just himself. He feels like someone I might have grown up with too, in like kind of my like Jewish pocket of Florida. Like he feels very familiar. His humor feels very familiar to me. And anyway, like, well, Robin was pregnant, and it was like still in COVID, and I was home a lot, and that's when I really started smoking. I wasn't smoking at all. Like I didn't use weed at all. I had bad reactions to it. And then during COVID,
kind of like let go, and I was having this like I was just getting super creative, and I was like, well, I can't like work with anybody else right now besides on Zoom, so I'm just gonna like trust myself. I'm just gonna produce say I can produce everything because I've been doing that, but I can't put a name to it because I don't fucking give myself any credit. And then like I meanwhile would like smoke, work, paint, watch his podcast, smoke, work, paint, hang out with Robin, watch his podcast, smoke. And that was like the COVID era, and it was like a lot of being myself, and I didn't have any distractions. And watching somebody discover themselves and reveal their insecurities, he'll like in the moment be like, in the middle of a podcast, be like, can I be honest with you right now? Like, when I first met you 2 years ago, you kind of fucking bullied me, dude. Like that would like he'll open up and he'll be like, I'm feeling, or he'll say like, I'm feeling emotional right now, or I'm feeling insecure right now. There's no like, it's not this formal, perfect podcast. And it just felt like, oh, I like watching him because he's a real fucking person. And if I like watching him and I can't stop watching him because he's making me feel connected to something, and it's not performative like Enlightenment. It's like he's just being a dude and he's like making fucking fart jokes. He's like a comedian. Like he's just fucking saying ridiculous things also. And it just made me feel like, just like, what are you doing, dude? Just like be yourself. Like,
I think
be
that's
yourself. Like,
I think that's what podcasts have kind of done for a lot of our culture. It's like the more people that get into doing it, and there's a lot of comedians, there's a lot of music people, a lot of different personalities get into podcasting, but it just illuminates the human experience in a way, especially when people are themselves. It's just like it illuminates something inside of us that gives other people the freedom to also be themselves. I mean, that's what I get out of podcasts. I hear people being themselves, and I'm like, that person just said a fucking ridiculous thing that I don't agree with at all. But I'm not angry at it. I have no reason to be angry at it. And instead, I'm just going to be like, well, that's just who they are. It's a representation and a reflection of who they have become and who they are in this moment. And
who do you listen to? Besides, we both listen to Joe. I listen to Joe Rogan. You listen to Joe Rogan.
Let me use the restroom really fast, and then I want you to guess. Too. I want you to guess.
Oh, okay. I listened to it enough where I might be able to.
And we're gonna smoke that.
And then we're gonna smoke, and then we're probably at like an hour and a half. You know?
No, we are at 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll smoke and then cut it, and then we just chill.
And you're gonna guess.